preparing for your RO4 exam. Taking your RO4 exam can feel daunting, but there are some things you can do to help to increase your chances of passing the exam. We asked our team of experts what their top tips were for sitting the RO4 exam, and here is what they said. Firstly, you should put in place a study schedule and revision programme and then make it your mission to keep to it. Note that this is just an example on the slide. You might be able to dedicate 30 hours a week to your studies and get exam ready very quickly, or you might only be able to study for less than 10 hours a week, in which case it might take you many more weeks until you are ready for your exam. It's not a race. You can work out a schedule that works for you. But do be realistic with the time you have available to dedicate to studying each week, taking into consideration all of your commitments before you book your exam. It is easy to think that we can spend 10 hours a week studying, but in reality, what would that look like per day for you? Note whether there are any particular days of the week in which you usually have more available time to study and plan to focus on that day instead of a day you know you'll be busy and it will be difficult to find the time. Or, if you are the kind of person who's more motivated under pressure, book your exam and work your study plan backwards from that date. Don't be too ambitious. The CII do give useful guides as to how many hours it typically takes to complete study for each exam. It might take you less or more, so try to be realistic. If you are short of time, ensure your study is relevant to the number of questions from each learning outcome. You can read the exam guide to see how many questions in your exam will come from each learning outcome. If you are working to a really tight time limit, it doesn't make sense to spend a lot of time on parts of the syllabus which you might only get 1 or 2 questions about. You should still include these in your study, but don't dedicate a whole week to a learning outcome that forms a very small part of the overall syllabus unless you have the time. The CII do provide the approximate number of questions you can expect from each learning outcome in your exam, and you can find this in the exam syllabus on their website. The learning outcomes that have the most number of exam questions are the areas you should be spending the most time learning and revising. Be familiar with the format of the exam, pass mark and style of the questions. It's really important that you know what to expect when you're taking your exam. Knowing how long you'll have to answer the questions is crucial for your exam technique because you need to know that you can answer the questions within the time you have available. The RO4 exam is 1 hour and has 50 multiple choice questions. This can be taken either remotely from your home or office or at your local CII testing centre if that's your preference. It might not be possible for all people to be able to guarantee they won't have any interruptions when taking the exam at home, so in that case it's best to visit your local test centre. Some people may find taking the exam remotely from home or the office less stressful. It just depends what's best for you. The pass mark is obviously important, and the pass mark for RO4 is 65%. Knowing this style of questions will really help you to know what to expect. For example, there are both multiple choice and multiple response questions within this exam, and multiple response questions are especially important to practice because you only get the mark for that question if you select all of the correct answers. You can find some more information, including the latest pass rates, on the Brand Financial Training website. Read the question very carefully. Look out for words such as must and always. These are often the distractors. The CII will also add in some extra information into the question sometimes, which isn't relevant to what's being asked, but it is designed to make you think twice. Look out for only the relevant information and also consider when a question asks something like, which of the following is most important? All of the answers may be relevant, but one will be the most important, therefore that's the right answer. Practice and practice, especially the multiple response questions. These can be tricky as, unlike the standard multiple choice questions, more than one of the answer options will be correct. The key point to remember with multiple response questions is that at least 2 of the options are correct, and most of the time it is just 2, but sometimes, like in this example, 3 of the answers are correct. You must select all that apply correctly to get the mark for that question. Start by ruling out the red herring. There will always be one obviously wrong answer. Brand Financial Training provide e-mocks, which are online practice versions for you to take before your exam. Questions are designed to mirror what you might face in the exam, including the multiple response questions, so are a great option for practicing in preparation for your exam day. You can take either a full mock exam or smaller quick tests to check your progress, and these are available on our website. Sit a mock exam under exam conditions. You need to be sure that you can complete the full exam in the time you'll have. From this, you'll also be able to see any areas of weakness, and this will give you the areas you need to go back to or focus last-minute revision on. So sit in a quiet room without distractions, leave your phone behind and set a timer. Don't look up the answers, just work through the questions as you will on the day of your exam. As mentioned, you can access mock exams through companies such as Brand Financial Training. We offer online mock exams so you can practice how this will feel on the day with questions designed to mirror the exam, but we also offer PDF versions of mock exams if you prefer to practice using a pen and paper instead of sitting at the computer. After you sit a mock exam, take note of the questions you got wrong. Understand what the correct answer was and use that to focus your final stages of exam preparations. Brand Financial Training provide answer rationale for all mock exam questions to help you understand why the correct answer is correct and which chapter in the study text you can refer back to. If you chose to sit your exam at home, ensure you are familiar with the remote examining system before you sit your exam. Have a practice beforehand. It will help with nerves about using the system. The advantage of using the PSI remote proctoring software is you can book your exams 24/7, but there are some extra steps involved compared to taking an exam in a CII test centre. For example, you'll be asked to test things like your internet connection and the quality of your camera and microphone. Note that the setup process can take up to 15 minutes. You then will have to move on to security checks, including filming a video of the room that you are in. You then have to wait for the examiner to start the exam. This can happen instantly, or it might take up to 30 minutes. Once you connect, the examiner will then undertake much of the same checks again. Knowing this process ahead of time will help you feel more prepared and less nervous on the day. Keep an eye on the time during your exam. The exam system allows you to flag questions and go back to them. So flag anything that you're not sure about and get to a question you know will give you the confidence, but then don't forget to go back to the flagged questions. You might come across a question in your exam that you just don't know the answer to. If that's the case, don't spend 10 minutes working out what you think the correct answer might be. Just flag it and move on. You will hopefully have time to come back to this question at the end, but if you don't, it isn't worth wasting 10 minutes on one question that you'd be guessing the answer for anyway. You might end up running out of time and not being able to answer the last few questions that you did know the answer to. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we hope you found it useful. You can find more tips in our How to Pass guide by visiting our website and navigating to your exam page. This is a PDF document which includes lots of useful hints and tips for passing your exam and can be found on our website. Good luck with your exam, and do let us know how you get on.